run unopposed, so I don't know if that'll work.
No, I did. I had opposition every time.
Oh, I thought you were unopposed.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
You're talking about the primary or the election itself?
Well, in the first one I ran, there were 3 of us in the primary, and then I still had an opposition in the main voting in November. And then last time I only had opposition in the primary.
I guess my problem is I never look beyond your name when I get to that spot. So
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's perfect. Just keep operating that way.
Let me give you a quick introduction.
Sure.
Sydney was, I don't know what the title is, chairman, president, whatever the Chamber of Commerce title is for the person in charge.
Correct.
And actually was the advisor and sponsor for this chapter to get it started back in 2011, I think it was, maybe.
Oh, yes, sir. It's been a while. It's been a while.
So she's been our grandmother for our chapter. She was got us going at the very beginning. It was actually before my time when she did. In any case, she has has been a big supporter of our chapter and has been well, I'll just say you've been a big supporter of our chapter and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And actually, Kathleen, I see some names I recognize. Kathleen was in there in from the very beginning as well. And I'll tell you, it came about really basically accidentally. Hey, Kathleen, how are you today?
I'm good. Good to see you.
You too. You too. It came about kind of accidentally. I see Chad Holton, TRA, is also on the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
But hey, Sid. Hey, Chad, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Just fine. So part of what happened, it was all kind of accidental. We had started we wanted to start ecotourism at the Chamber of Commerce. And then Judge Thompson had a meeting at TRA that he was supposed to go to and couldn't make it. So he asked me to cover it. And that was when they were initially talking about how they were going to move forward with the hydroelectric dam. So unbeknownst to myself, I was sitting next to or between the fisheries biologist for the state of Texas and one of the attorneys for ETech. So in the discussion, there was discussion about how it wasn't necessary for Polk County to have any access, or, you know, that we were just basically going to acquiesce everything. So I moved forward in stating what my opinion was. And so then they agreed, ETech agreed that they would help us put the gazebo back in place and allow the master naturalists to move forward with basically developing that area into a natural area. I had tremendous support from the master naturalists. I have tremendous support from TRA, and definitely tremendous support from Texas Parks and Wildlife, because they didn't want to see that just go away to one degree or another. And so that's kind of how we got where we are today. It's exciting for me.
Can I start off and ask a question, Sydney?
Absolutely.
The park is owned by the county.
It is leased. It is owned by the county and leased to East Texas Electric Cooperative.
For 99 years, right?
Yes, sir.
And they have in turn delegated responsibility for security to TRA.
Yes, sir. That is a joint venture. That's a joint venture between TRA and ETEC. And so they, amongst themselves, decided on the levels of responsibility, you know, who would take care of what. Since both of them are, ETEC is a cooperative, but not a government agency, but TRA has an appointed board that is appointed by the legislature. Chad, correct me if I say anything here that's incorrect or not quite accurate.
You're right on the money so far.
Yeah, and so basically it's a cooperative project that involved the county, TRA, and East Texas Electric Cooperative, which is the parent organization for SHECO, which is our local co-op. And so this would allow them to provide cheaper energy that was renewable energy. I cannot imagine how many millions of dollars have literally gone right down the river, you know, that basically TRA has had to flush, you know, continuously, and in some cases in massive quantities, right, that could have provided power and energy to the grid. And of course, now after the mess we went through, us not so much, Polk County was very, very fortunate. The majority of Polk County was very, very fortunate during the Arctic blast because ETC and SHECO are our providers. But those people that were caught with the ERCOT, in the ERCOT mess, some of them still are having difficulties. And so here we are 50, 60 days later, and there are still Texans that were impacted by the ERCOT grid failure.
Do you have a particular vision as to what you want to see the park?
I think the only vision that I had in mind when hey Susan, there's another grandma of the group. So I think the only vision that I had in mind was for it to be native vegetation. And there were enough little mini ecosystems in that area that allowed for a variety. You know, it wasn't like we would just go in there and just have it all look very uniform, because you have a little bit of wetlands in there. You have some drier, higher areas. So my only vision was that it be native, and that we build some areas or some zones, you know, that would bring birds in and create habitat for native animals, native wildlife. We have, you know, I mean, obviously we're a freshwater lake, and so we do have some saltwater birds that come up there, the pelicans and the seagulls, and especially when the white pelicans are migrating and moving about, then they have moved to Lake Livingston. They've made Lake Livingston and the dam part of their route, part of their home. So I just want to encourage as much as possible native vegetation that will then allow local wildlife and native birds and animals to be happy in their habitat right there.
Based upon the tracks that we've seen in the mud, there are a fair number of animals out there. We've seen bobcat, hog, deer.
That area right there, you have some large landowners. Mr. Laurent is in that area. Then you have a large property that goes on down the river. And so it should be very conducive to allowing animals to move back and forth. Myself, Chad, I don't know if you were there that day that the hurricanes had taken down some of the high fences, and some of the young deer were out there, you know, that were not that had been brought into the area, and so they were hanging out down there. So obviously they're comfortable in that area, and because they move up and down the river as well. Especially your bobcats. You know, your bobcats are hunters, but they're also scrappers. So they will go down to the water and find dead fish and do whatever they need to do. And you have a lot of landowners down there that have nesting bald eagles on their property. So it's a neat little area, and as much as possible, we just want to encourage native vegetation and good luck with the Chinese towers. I hate Chinese towers.
Amen.
So far, we planted several hundred trees in there, and we're trying to conceptually decide what themes we want to work on. For example, I think that it would be almost a unique birding opportunity because you've got all of the shorebirds within sight of the gazebo.
Yes, sir.
And then you've got the upland and wetland birds as well, because you've got both a wet area and a dry area in the park. We've concentrated on oaks and pines so far, for the most part. But there are a lot of questions, such as do we at some point in time have an open house? Should it be an annual event? How do we go about coordinating that with the county and with the TRA? Or what kind of coordination are you guys expecting?
I think that in my case, I'm not egotistical enough to think that it should go around me or around TRA for that matter. I think this is your project. You tell us how we can support you, how we can move forward. You tell us when you sometimes what do you want to do? If you want to make it, let's wait till we have several trees planted so that people can at least see our vision, or until we have a good sketch of how we want to lay it out, until we've kind of delineated our parameters for each area or each ecological zone that you're trying to target. I think our responsibility is to support you. This is your project now. We will support you in any way possible. We will continue to support you in terms of promoting the area, in terms of promoting the group, the organization as a whole. And so at this point in time, you kind of need to just tell us what you need from us. And
Okay.
once you get those things lined out amongst yourselves and decide, what would be best, well, then you tell us what we can do or how we can promote it for you.
So you would like to see a plan from us and put it to your office?
Yeah, no, I don't need to see a plan. You all are master naturalists. This is your project. You decide how you want the public, what you want the public to understand, and what you want Texas Parks and Wildlife to understand, or for TRA to know what you're planning, since they are part of your support group that is going to assist with maintenance and those kinds of things. So basically, I think that you all move forward however you see fit. I will put a plug in for redbud trees. I like redbuds. I think they add a little sparkle to it. And of course, once your larger trees get going, then you could put some dogwood in there, or you could put some other native vegetation. Hold on just a second. That may be my text message for the legislature. And so I think that you decide how to move forward and what it's going to look like. I think that you're going to get better response from the public, and you're going to get better response in terms of people that would promote it or that would subsidize it in some form or fashion. If you are able to show them a plan, this is where we want to be in 5 years, this is where we want to be in 10, these are the plants we want to plant, this is our vision. And once you start getting people, especially birders, we all know that birders will travel to go see this or go see that. And gosh, one year we had a poor lapis lazuli that got blown off course to the state park in Livingston, and Houston Audubon descended like crazy, because somebody had posted and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a lapis lazuli down here." And I thought that poor bird got photographed more than any other bird in the state park at that point in time. And so I think once you start promoting it and do things like that, then the word will get out, especially among birders.
We've had interaction with TRA and ETech, but so far, to the best of my knowledge, Parks and Wildlife hasn't been consulted. Do you have a contact of someone there that's interested in this
I
project?
would start with the state park staff. Joel is wonderful. Our state park staff right now is just amazing. They have done a wonderful job, and they have a young man, Joel, that does programs, and he's the one that will have the raptors, the birds of prey come in. He walks around, does walks in the park, in the state park, where he shows people different things. And so maybe talk to him and see how you can get into his loop per se, and how you can move forward with some of that. Also, Chris Gregory, our local biologist, is very, very good. He's very enthusiastic, and he has a lot of knowledge. He also could provide you maybe with some information or some links on who to talk to in terms of what vegetation you want and in which areas. He's a wealth of knowledge. Chris has always been my go-to guy. If I had a question about a plant, if I had a question about an animal, if I wanted to know a season, if anything I ever wanted to know, I always call Chris.
Joel will be a good technical resource, but historically he hasn't been very interested in the boundary of the park.
And Joel's probably more limited since he is in the state park itself. So maybe latch on to Chris Gregory and see what his recommendations would be, or how he would advise to move forward with some of these things.
And we're going to try to convince Chris that those bobcat tracks are really mountain lion tracks.
He's heard that before. You won't be trying to convince him of anything he hasn't already heard about him a gazillion times.
It's a small mountain lion is all.
Oh, no. Listen, all I want to know is if you see a bear track, I need to be on speed dial, because that's what I want to see.
Haven't seen any bear tracks.
I know. That's what we need. We need black bears in Polk County. We need to restore as many animals as possible back to their native habitat.
On the property, there's a wellhead. Is that still viable for irrigation water if we were to put in a pump?
I don't know anything about it. If it's viable, does it have electricity to it?
Well, there's wiring to it, but I don't know where the other end of the wire is.
That's probably from back when there was somebody actually running that park and had a store down there at one time, years and years and years ago. I assume that's probably what they use for the water source.
I'm going to assume so also, but I don't know. I mean, Chad, is that something that TRA would be willing to just go take a look at and see if that's an option?
Well, I can say if somebody can go out there and look at it and see if it's still workable or not. See if I can find some of my contacts.
Is it something that can be operated off of solar power?
I think that's going to depend on how much power you all need. But first you need to find out if it's even operable. I mean, if it's not operable, then that changes the whole conversation altogether.
Right.
So if we could find out that it's operable, then certainly you all could put some solar panels out there that would generate it. You're not, in your case, you're looking for irrigation. You're not looking for a high pressure, so you're not going to require huge amounts of electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something we stumbled across and curious is all.
Yeah. Well, I think you would have to have someone first that has that kind of background, and certainly you're more than welcome to go. You know, if you have a volunteer that's willing to go down there and check it out, that's an electrician. If not, then maybe TRA or ETC has someone that will go down there and check it and see if that's a viable. You know, I don't know how much of that that old park. I don't know how much of that old park just got wiped clean and how much of it had already been damaged too much because it flooded several times. You know, so I don't know how much of it is viable. Obviously, as much as possible, to whatever degree you can use the footprint of that park, then use it. You know, I mean, if there's some concrete slabs there where there would make good spots for people to sit down and bird watch, then do it. But otherwise, I would move towards removing all traces of that park as much as possible.
The hardscape is pretty good. I mean, we've got a very nice path. We've got a beautiful gazebo. You know, I think from a hardscape standpoint at this point in time, the main thing that we would think about in the future is interpretive signage of some sort. Other than that, I haven't heard anybody suggest anything in particular. If somebody does come up with a hardscape idea, does that still fall within our
everything falls within your parameters as long as it does not interfere with ETC and TRA function. So like TRA doesn't want vines on their chain link fence for obvious reasons.
Security reasons.
You know, so we need to honor that. But any other ideas are entirely up to you all, as long as they do not interfere or are not contradictory to TRA and ETC policies or directives. I mean, obviously, if they have a highline wire going across somewhere, well, they don't want 3 big pin oaks underneath it, right? So there'll be some guidelines or some limitations, but most of those are related to TRA and ETC functioning without any interference.
The high lines don't really touch the park. They go up along by the access road.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just using that as an example that would be something that would interfere with their functioning or with their equipment to one degree or another.
So can I ask a question about the chain link fences?
Sure.
So who is going to be removing the vines that will inevitably find their own way onto the chain link fences, and how are they going to do that? Are they going to spray or?
TRA is in the past has sprayed. You know, that's what we did for the vegetation that's on the other side of the fence, where we couldn't see the river and the people down on the bank. So in the past, we've sprayed that. And we have a little gator. It's a John Deere 6-wheel machine with a little tank on the back of it. And so we can spray those vines that make it up on the fence with that. When the wind, of course, is in favor and not blowing too hard. Calm conditions.
So Chad, do y'all usually go in and do that kind of spraying before the vegetation gets too far up the fence?
Did you hear me, Ann?
Oh, I did, yes.
Chad, did you hear my question? Okay, I think part of it would be is TRA is going to have a policy just because that's what's on our pesticide license. I have a pesticide license. And so what you have certain weather conditions where you cannot do it. And if the wind is blowing a certain miles an hour, then it's not advisable, to go out there because your spray pattern changes completely. And so I think part of it's going to depend on what their usual procedure is. You know, do they wait till the vines are all the way up, which I would find highly unlikely, or do they spray when they're still low to the ground, where your drift is not going to be as bad?
The next question I have is, I guess, kind of for Chad. And Chad, how do you feel about public events at the park? I mean, is there any, do you want to be notified? Do you want to manage it? Do you want to constrain it? What's your input to that? Did we lose him?
I think we've lost Chad. You can have events at the park. The only limitations on that are going to be the times that the park is open. Because part of what has historically occurred, which is part of the reason that those huge chain link fences are there, and don't get me wrong, they're pretty hideous. But part of the reason that those are there is because there have been issues with people coming up the river, okay, and coming onto TRA property. And you certainly don't want anyone damaging the dam or the hydroelectric, or, you know, just vandalizing things. And so that's part of the purpose. Now, in terms of having public events, absolutely, you should have public events. I mean, what's to stop a family from going down there and having a family reunion, right, and using the gazebo? And so the invitation is there for public events. You're going to have limited space in terms of parking spaces, but certainly the invitation is there as long as it falls within those hours, you know, when the park itself is open. It's after hours events that would cause an issue in terms of security and supervising the area.
If we were to have some sort of a night watch event with a relatively small group.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what? I don't see a
can.
problem with that. Right now, you could not. But I think that if you spoke to TRA and you said, hey, you know, we're going to have this special event for people that sign up. There's Chad, he's back. You know, then that you would have to make arrangements in terms of, because of the security. So we basically agreed that it would be closed, I think at 10.
There's no time set. It says daylight.
Okay.
Daylight only.
Yeah. So we agreed to close it because of security reasons. But certainly I don't see an issue at all if you all were to have a special event, you know, where you were going to go down there, you know, let's say you end up with some owls, you know, down that start nesting, and you want to go out there and watch them at night. Or let's say someone comes along that's willing to do a stargazing, you know, event or something like that. Well, I just think that you're going to have to just visit with TRA and make special arrangements for those kinds of things. But as a rule, it would need to be shut down at dark for security reasons. And you don't want someone coming in there, you know, vandalizing your trees either.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, after all this work? And then someone comes through there and says, oh, I'm going to spray my initials, you know, with whatever pesticide of the month is going on. And won't that be funny? You know, no.
My thinking was, you know, it would be a organized event, not just a open thing, and that we'd have to somehow work out an arrangement with Chad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't see a problem with that at all. I just think that TRA would have to be well aware, and it would have to be an organized event that you all did, you know, not just it's going to be open on Thursday nights kind of thing.
And we would do this, Chad, on an informal basis with you. There's no official path. I guess he left again.
He's still trying to connect.
I believe, Ron, I believe per not Sydney, Timmy E-Tech has requested us doing 2 events, public events a year. I believe that's a request
Yes,
stipulation.
yes, I believe that was included in the discussion with them. I have not read the contract just because there wasn't any purpose in reading it now. But Susan is correct. I do recall that there was some discussion of, okay, if E-Tech is going to move forward with this and TRA is going to move forward with this, then there need to be some kind of events down there, basically because it's a marketing and advertising for them.
I apologize. Something happened with my connection. I didn't hear anything since I last talked. So,
We booted you off, Chad.
all right. Yeah, I thought when I mentioned spraying chemicals, everybody just went ahead and kicked me out.
The question, Chad, is if we wanted to hold an evening event, Sydney's example was, for example, if there were owls in the park that we wanted to observe, and then we organized a specific event for a specific night, what would you like to see relative to organizing that?
We would just need to be notified ahead of time so that, I can make our security and staff aware of what's going on. And of course, they would have to be there to open the SO would have to open the gate for you and unlock it. And, it would probably be something that, we would open the gate for the time that you're down there. And then as soon as you left, we'd close it up afterwards and lock it back till the next morning.
Okay, that sounds very workable to me. So it's just an informal thing, contacting.
Yeah, and just make sure you contact somebody here in this office where I'm at here at the dam. And you can just call this office phone number and talk to either me or Mark or one of the other assistant project managers, and then we can communicate it on through with the SO. It's going to be on staff that particular day.
Okay, so most of the time that would involve a small group of our members. If we were doing something like that. On a daytime event, we might want to make those open to the public and advertise it as a some sort of a dedication or open house or
Right.
Bird thing. And as long as we do that during the daytime, you guys are fine with it, right?
Yeah, we really don't need to be notified, but it would be good courtesy just to let us know so we know, because we're really not used to seeing a whole lot of people down there. There's, a few people that come 2 or 3 cars at a time maybe, but that's about it. So if you're gonna have significant traffic one day, it'd be nice for me to be able to give our security a heads up.
Okay. Are there any other issues on security? We've talked about the fence. Is there anything else that you view as a security issue that would get your attention?
No, I mean, just as long as, folks are, pretty much picking up their trash and using the trash can we got down there and keeping the vehicles on the road. That's kind of one concern I have is we watch it pretty close, but I hate to see somebody drive off the pavement thinking they can just drive off into that park side. But I can't think of anything else, Ron.
Okay, it's, there haven't been any issues that have come up so far. I mean, everything's been,
Yeah, everything's great so far.
When we've gone out to do some planning, there haven't been any issues or hassles of any kind whatsoever.
That's great.
The way I point out that another party that's been cooperating with us is AgriLife, and Matt has been out there on the plantings, helping out and providing his expertise as well.
Well, and that's the other thing. At this point in time, we have like the perfect storm with some of our new people, you have the perfect storm happening right now at the state park. We have some new energy, I guess I should say. Matt brings a whole new different kind of karma energy to the whole dynamics as well. And so right now we kind of have the perfect storm going. So I feel like that we should really capitalize and take advantage of it as much as possible. I was down there for one of those plantings when Matt was down there, and he's really gung ho, and so we want to continue to encourage him as much as possible and take advantage of all that youth and encouragement and energy that he brings to the table.
We love Matt, but you already know that.
I was a couple of weeks ago, I was out at the state park working with Joel on a guided birding tour. And there was a family that came up, and one of the things that they really were interested in seeing were all of the pelicans. Well, the pelicans are not in the state park area, they're down around the dam. And so Joel and I were talking with this family about how to get to the gazebo, that's where they would be able to see the pelicans and the cormorants and some of the other birds that are there in the wintertime. Is there any plan, or who would be responsible for developing some kind of document that would show families how to get from the park to the gazebo if they wanted to do some other bird watching?
Okay.
That would be us.
Yes. And at one time when I was at the chamber, we developed birding maps.
And there is one. It's quite good.
Well, we developed those birding maps, and then once the master naturalist got on board, you see what I'm saying? Originally it was just like really me and using Texas Parks and Wildlife maps and stuff like that. We developed birding maps. And so maybe that might be something that the state park could have some, so that when people come, they can hand it to whomever needs to have it.
Right.
Part of the argument with Parks and Wildlife started because we were not included on the Gulf Coast birding map, I think it is. They included us on the map with Dallas. And I'm like,
Piney Woods.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Why are we on the Plains and Prairies map? We're either coastal Piney Woods but we're not Plains and Prairies. And so that was kind of where the original argument came from. and I'm putting it politely, which is why Susan is laughing, because we literally engaged legislators. I mean, we were pretty adamant about that we were on the wrong map. And our other motivation for that was because the number one birding map that the state of Texas distributes that more people request is the Gulf Coast. They don't request what Dallas has.
Piney Woods.
Don't care, And
well,
so,
I think I was thinking of something a little bit simpler that could just get families that were staying at the park from expanding what they were able to do while they're there. And the other thing I've thought about, this is a great resource. It's a big draw. I took over the Christmas bird count circle for this area, and it includes the state park, and it also includes that dam area.
yeah.
So, and now that circle is active again, I've been contacted by a number of people that are really excited about it and want to travel up here to participate in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, we had those maps and part of what brought it to our attention was literally when you're looking at the map, it looked like Highway 190 just ended. It just ended somewhere out there. And people were like, what do you mean you have a lake? Like, well, we have the second largest man-made lake in the state of Texas, and it's not on the map. So the concession that we did get from Texas Parks and Wildlife, and I have not looked at one lately, so I don't know if they rescinded their concession.
Nope, they haven't.
Good, was that they would go ahead and put Lake Livingston on that map so that people wouldn't just think that you dropped off the end of the world right there. You know, because we literally had people saying, "Oh my God, there's a lake here." Really? We didn't know. It's over 100,000 acre lake and we didn't know it was there. So, so those were some of the concessions that we asked for. I don't think I have any of those old maps left. And
We have them.
Okay.
We do.
Actually, I threw out a bunch of them cleaning out my house. You know, I was like, oh, these have got to go. But that's what I would suggest. I would suggest that, that you provide that to the state park. Another thing that we had talked about at one point in time also had to do with, we considered paddle trails, but those are not, it's not a viable option for us because, the Trinity River, can be a trickle sometimes that you can't even kayak down, or it can be whitewater, F4 tornado going down the river. So you can either take 3 days trying to get to Kingwood, or you can take 30 minutes because it shoots you down there, so that we lost that. However, there was a group that got together and we were trying to develop a map that would basically provide birding opportunities all the way down the Trinity River to Chambers County. That kind of fell by the wayside, but the idea was to have a map that birders could bring up on their phone that would allow them to easily find the different birding locations. And that if there were people that wanted to kayak, then they would know where the ingress and egress points were along the Trinity River. So those are some of the other options that we looked at. Does anyone know, with the state of Texas, and I haven't tried, is there a way to get a birding map just on your phone? Or do you have to have a hard copy?
Good question.
There are a number of lists that are available through Cornell University's eBird list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people rely on that now more than anything. But there is a Piney Woods bird pamphlet that is available. It has all of the things you could expect to see in pine forests, and it covers Livingston. But that one I have downloaded. That's the only one, though, I have not looked for all of Texas one because Texas is so diverse.
Yeah. Well, I think that might be something that group was considering, taking your hold on, the train's coming. I may be in the penthouse suite, but every single semi, every single train, we hear up here. So I think that what that group was originally looking at, and we did a meeting with all the counties that were going from Polk County, and actually even Trinity County participated, but it was Trinity, Polk, San Jacinto County, on down, Liberty, Hardin, all the way down to Chambers County. And so what we did was we did a meeting, and the idea was, and I think maybe Chambers County kind of already had the beginnings of it, and Chambers County was willing to let everybody else piggyback on their website. so that it would become like an expanded map for birding and paddling opportunities. But it never got beyond that. It also included, oh my gosh, the Greater Houston Wilderness, whatever. It also included them.
I wanted to add or agree with what Ann said, that birders know how to find these spots. They use eBird hotspots,
Yeah.
and maybe we could get Joel to recommend eBird to anybody that's interested that visits the park.
Yeah, because your family, you know, you take a family that just shows up and they're just looking for something else to do, and maybe they have a kid that's interested, but they don't really know what they're looking for. They're not going to have that information unless someone provides it to them directly.
But that's something that's easily available on your phone.
Yes.
That, you know, even if they never used eBird, they can find it pretty readily. And that hotspot down there at the dam will get them right there with Google.
Yes.
Well, I set the state park up as a hotspot, and I can go back in and get the GPS coordinates and set that E-Tech Park up as a hotspot as well.
There you go. That would work. And people are more proficient than they used to be. You know, we're way more proficient at looking things up and Googling information. And so if it's already set up as a hotspot, then it would be easier for them to wander across it and find it.
I was thinking more of the family that just, we're here at the park and we're trying to find something to keep the kids occupied. What can we pick up here at the desk?
They used to have a checklist available there at the headquarters.
Yes, they did.
There is, but it's pretty much for the park. And the what goes on at the dam is really kind of dramatically different.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Let me see something.
Those birds are probably still on the checklist.
Okay, I think that when I just found a map. I started thinking that I thought I had one stuck in my bookshelves around here. Okay, so basically what we did before was we called it our Piney Woods passport to birding, and it was like a little travel guide. And what we did was we put every birding location. And we even then started kind of expanding it from there to like historical markers. You see what I'm saying? Things that we thought would catch people's attention. But we did have a map. And didn't we start, Susan, with like 10 birding locations, which included Big Thicket? Yeah, we included the Alabama Coshada Tribe. We included the Big Thicket area. And there were even some areas in Tyler County that were known for whatever. And so we added those. And so this is what it basically looked like. And then it also had Tyler County on the back. But it started, the original basis for all of this was birding. It started out with 10 birding locations, which included some Big Thicket. Because that was, you know, the egret rookery that's on Highway 59. Basically, TxDOT said, could you please not put that on there? Because we don't need all these people stopping on the side of Highway 59. And I'm like, you don't have to put it on there. They stop on the side of 59 because they go, oh my God, look. And stop and they watch the alligators get fed. I mean, that's in essence what happens in nesting season. Those alligators are very happy down there. Thank you, ma'am.
There's now the boat launch there at 59 at Trinity River
Yes,
also.
yes.
Yeah.
I have a security question for Chad.
Yes, sir.
The Lee College horticultural class up at the Ellis unit
Yeah.
have said that they might be willing to put together a formal horticultural plan for the park.
Yeah.
Asked me if I could, obviously they can't come and visit it. So they asked me if I would take lots of photographs. My question is, if I fly one of these little 4-propeller drones over the park, are you guys going to get excited?
No, that's fine as long as you keep it over the park.
Well, I'm going to keep it over the park because I tend to crash it and I want to be able to fetch it if I do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine. Just give me a heads up, let me know. I'll tell security so they don't shoot it out of the sky.
Don't fly too far past the park either. Jimmy Laurent may shoot it out of the sky.
No, I'd keep it over the park because my piloting skills are so terrible that I have to keep it within sight and where I can go fetch it when I do something wrong.
I hear you.
It's supposed to be GPS and supposed to return itself and all of those things, but I haven't found that to be particularly reliable so far. I'm still learning. I don't know if it'll actually do it as a class project or not, but it would be it would come out. I'm sure if they do it, it'll come out very professional and give us a something that we could use.
I think that'd be great. Plus that's another thing that when you do start applying for grants and when you do start looking at other possibilities, when you are able to say we're working in conjunction with, the horticulture program through TDC, and we're working with TRA, and we're working with ETC, and we're working with the county, and we have sponsored this, that, or the other thing, whether it's tree planting, and then you list your private partners. Anytime you start applying for grants and you can show that you've had public and private partners working in conjunction with you, the number of points that you will receive in terms of the scoring of the grant, increase exponentially.
Yeah, the Friends of Lake Livingston have learned that very well, and our partnering with the schools has been financially
Yes, sir.
advantageous. Now, if we can only get the schools back in session so that we can do more with them.
Yes, sir.